Welcome back to Ask a Lawyer. Matthew Fisher and Jared Lecker from Lecker & Associates are taking your employment law questions. If you would like more information on Lecker & Associates disability and employment lawyers and to get in touch with them directly, please visit leckerslaw.com. If you have a question for our experts, call us at 888-802-2016 or email us at askalawyer@cp24.com. Let's jump into our next question. Lily in Toronto sent this one in. I've worked at a large publishing company for almost 10 years before I was let go last month. The company said it was part of a restructuring. Since we are all working remotely, our department has a WhatsApp chat group. When I was looking at the names of the other people who were let go, it seems like a large number of us are from the same community. No members of our community are in senior management who all kept their jobs. I think racism may have played a role in the company's decision. Is this allowed? Wow, that's loaded, Matthew.
It is. So certainly racism is not allowed to be part of the decision-making process in a termination. There's no question. The real issue comes down to evidence, because in most human rights cases, the discrimination isn't overt. They rarely say, we're firing you because you're a member of this protected group. It happens, but it's rare. What happens more often is the employee will see a pattern, like in this case. Part of the legal process we have is disclosure and discovery, where we can learn about the process. There are times when we look and we learn and we determine there is in fact discrimination. The pattern is there, and frankly, in reality, you won't read about those cases in a lot of instances because they'll settle. The employer will realize we did something wrong here, we need to resolve this and move on. There have been cases, to be frank, and I've seen them myself, where there appears to be discrimination on the outside, but when the evidence is examined more, it turns out, well, in fact, no, if you look at the numbers and the data, that isn't the reasoning behind it. Lily is still entitled to severance. She's still entitled to reasonable compensation while she looks for work. Whether that issue is there, whether racism was a factor, is something that through the legal process she can find out. If there is,
right,
she will be entitled to be protected.
And what we were discussing, it's an instinct, and Lily has to follow up on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Okay, we have another question from Alistair in Milton. I was working for an IT company when I was fired for cause. I posted on my social media that my boss is a dinosaur who doesn't understand how computers work. One of my coworkers saw my post and brought it to his attention. They ordered me to take it down. I refused because it would breach my charter rights. How can they violate my rights to freedom of expression? Jared.
Interesting question, Alistair. So there's a fundamental difference between what we have in Ontario, called the Ontario Human Rights Code, and what is called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which governs the relationship between peoples and citizens of Canada and the government. It's very important to make it clear to our viewers that the Charter only applies to government action and government undertakings, which is a topic for another TV show. So for Alistair, there's the question of what is a reasonable expectation of privacy outside of your workplace, and whether or not this right to a freedom of expression would apply there. Unfortunately, Alistair has no right to freedom of expression vis-a-vis his relationship with his company. Under the Ontario Human Rights Code, you have various protections against discrimination and rights to accommodation. However, if the material that he's published is prejudicial and harmful to his company's interests, and he refuses on the basis of his freedoms, unfortunately, he's not going to get much traction in the courts, because it's a failure. It's not the right avenue to pursue.
Right, always a tricky one with social media, for sure. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, Matthew and Jared from Lecker & Associates will answer an email question from Tamar about human rights and mandatory vaccinations. We'll be right back.
Do you have questions about your employment law rights that you need answered? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Every week, Lecker & Associates disability and employment lawyers are taking your questions on a wide range of employment law topics. Call 1-888-802-2016 or send your questions to askalawyer@cp24.com. Watch Ask a Lawyer every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on CP24.